Hello and welcome to this brief video on lines in ShareScope. In this video I'm going to show you how you can draw lines and the sort of things that you can do with lines on the chart. Lines are the sort of things that all technical analysts use. It doesn't matter what style of investment they have, they will always draw lines. They're useful to try and find out what the difference is between 2 points on a chart, or finding support and resistance levels, etc. Drawing lines in ShareScope is very, very easy. All you've got to do, hold down the Shift key on your keyboard, click, hold the mouse button down, drag the mouse and let go. And that will draw the line from a point you click to a point you let go. Very easy. There are a couple of ways in which you can draw quick lines, especially if you want to draw perfectly horizontal lines. If you want to draw a horizontal line, you just hold down the Shift key and do a single click on the chart. That will draw a horizontal line which will go infinitely into the future and infinitely into the past. If I zoom out, you'll see that the line I drew goes right back to 1984 in this case. Sometimes you want to draw a vertical line, maybe to show a specific point in time. That as well is very easy. Instead of Shift click, it's Control Shift click. So you hold down the Control key and the Shift key at the same time and do a single click on the chart. That will draw a perfectly vertical line. You can also draw a line that goes from the point where you click infinitely into the future but not into the past, and that is holding down the right Shift key on your keyboard and doing a single click on the chart. Again, that will draw a horizontal line infinitely into the future but from the point where you clicked, not into the past. If you want to get rid of a line that you have previously drawn, you just click on it and you'll see that the line gets highlighted with these little square dots, and simply hit delete on your keyboard. So if we do that, we can eliminate all the lines that we've drawn on the chart. The default line will be a red line. So if I click, drag, let go, here's a simple red line. We can change anything about the aspect of this line by simply double clicking on it. If we double click, a line color and settings box will open up. Here we can change the style of a line by clicking on the colored line button. So we can change a thickness or make it a dotted line, dashed line. We can change a color. And when we're done, we click on OK. If I move this to the side and hit preview, we can see now the line has changed. There are many other options. Show end points will show two large dots on either end of the chart, which we can now see. Extend forwards will continue the line infinitely into the future. Extend backwards will continue the line infinitely into the past. Show line values will show the price at the start and at the end of the line. So I can see, or in this case, a points value because it's a FTSE 100. So 6841.3 was my starting value and 6622.2 was the end value. Show time and date will add instead the date of the start point, the date of the end point. If you're doing this on an intraday chart, if you're using ShareScope Plus or ShareScope Pro, it will give you the time as well. And also it will count how many days, and this is trading days, between the 2 points on the chart. The show percentage change will show the percentage difference in value from the start to the end. This is very useful if you're quickly measuring how much a share has risen or fallen between 2 points on the chart. It will give you the difference in points, so a drop of 219 points, or as a percentage, which is 3.2%. If we make this line a little shorter, so I can show you the last few options a little easier. Now, Add repeating time bars will allow you to draw vertical lines at each repetition of the time frame that you're using. So if you draw a line which is 10 days wide, you will get a vertical line every 10 days. And that again is quite useful if you are analysing the cyclical nature then of the market. If you want, you can limit the number of vertical bars, and you can say 5, so I only draw 5 vertical bars after I've drawn the line. And if I do draw down from share price, it will draw from the price of the share at that moment in time down to the bottom of the chart. Use the Fibonacci series, I'm going to disable the other two to make it a little clearer, will draw vertical lines at each repetition of the Fibonacci numbers. So the Fibonacci series is 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, etc. So the first two lines, that represents the first 1, then the second one is 1. The next one is twice the distance of the first horizontal line, so that's a 2. The third line is drawn at 3 times the distance. The next line is drawn at 5 times the distance, and the next one, which we can't see because it's further to the right, is 8 times and 13 times, etc. So again, it's using time series analysis, but using a Fibonacci sequence. Any changes you make will be applied to the line you've just drawn. If I draw a new line, I'll still get the original red line. If I want to change this and make my line a permanent thicker blue line with a percentage change on it, I can tick set as default before I click on OK. If I do so, the changes will apply to this line and each line I will draw from now on. I'm going to remove the percentage change, so there we go. Another thing that gets asked quite often is how can you draw parallel lines? Often you'll find yourself drawing a support level, and you want to be able to drag a percentage, you want to be able to drag a parallel line off this line in order to see if there's a matching support. Now to do that, we click on the line that we want to copy. When we click on it, it will highlight in 3 points, the 2 end points and the middle point. If we hold down the shift key while clicking on the middle dot, hold the mouse button down and let go, that will drag away a copy of a line, and that's going to be a perfectly parallel line. We can move a line by simply clicking on the middle point and dragging it. Or we can alter one of the 2 points by clicking on the edges to move it around. One of the more useful features when drawing lines is the ability to set alarms. So imagine I draw a horizontal line from this point into the future, and the price is currently quite close to where this line has been drawn, but I want to be notified when this line has been breached by FTSE 100, because that's a point where I'll be opening my position. I right click on the line, and there'll be an option at the bottom here called Alarm on Line. If I click on it, a little bell will appear. Let me get rid of the percentage change options. This little bell means that the line has now been alarmed. If a share price at any point is to drop below that line, a notification will appear. The notification will appear even if I'm not looking at FTSE 100 chart, which is basically the entire point of this exercise. There's no limit to the number of line alarms that you can draw. So I could draw, for example, a line like this and put an alarm here, drawing a few random lines. Each line that has an alarm will have a little bell symbol. When the price eventually does breach one of these lines, notification will appear. If you return to the graph FTSE 100, the little bell icon will change to indicate that line alarm has been breached. Once a line alarm has been breached, it will stop notifying you. So the alarm will only ever trigger once. That's because if the price of a FTSE 100 were to hover up and down around that level, you don't want the program to give you a notification every few seconds. If the alarm is breached and you want to reset it, you can do any change you make to the line will reset the alarm as well. You can simply remove the alarm and add it again, or just moving the line slightly will reset the alarm to the new position, and it will be then available to be re-triggered once again. If you want to clear all the lines that you've drawn on a particular chart, you can go through each line individually and delete it, as I showed you before, or you can just hold down the Shift key and hit delete, and that will open up a little notification. It'll ask you, do you really want to delete all lines? You hit yes, and all the lines disappear. One last thing I have to show you, and that is where the lines appear on different graph settings. If I draw a line from here to here on the FTSE 100, and then I change the graph setting that I'm viewing to setting 12, for example, that line will not appear on the same place on the chart where I have drawn it on the other graph setting. If we go back to setting 11, where this line actually is, I right click on my line, and there's an option here called Select Display Settings. Now you'll see at the moment, any line I draw will only appear on this particular setting. If I select all settings, the line, I can draw the line on this particular graph setting, but it will then appear on all my other graph settings. Or I can choose for it to appear only on a selected few. For example, I could select these three. And again, just as with the other options, I can set this as a default. So all lines I'll draw from now on will have these particular options. If I click on OK, I can now go back to my setting 12, and the line will appear here as well. It will also appear on the main setting. There it is. But if I go to this particular setting, there's a different line here, but not the line that I drew before. And if I delete it from here, it will also disappear from all the other graph settings as well. And finally, let me talk about snap options. If I draw a line from here to here, for example, I'll remove the extend forwards option. There we go. And say I would like this line to go exactly from the close of this candlestick to the open of this candlestick, I could zoom in and just manually drag it. Or once I roughly draw the line, I can right click on it and select Edit Endpoint Values. If I click on it, I can select the first point, which is set on the 23rd of October 2015. I can have it snap to the close of that candlestick. I can then go to the next point, which is on the 25th of November 2015. That's the end point, and I can get it to snap to the open of the bar. So I can now zoom in to the chart, and we can see that the line is perfectly aligned on the close here and perfectly aligned on the open. That is all for my lesson on using lines on ShareScope. Please visit our website sharescope.co.uk for more videos and tutorials on ShareScope. For now, thank you for listening and goodbye.